Good morning. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Great, great. And what city are you in now?
I'm in Virginia.
Virginia. Okay, good,
Mhm.
good. So thank you for joining me. And what we'll do on this is just kind of interview you. We're going to walk through your process and what you're doing to inspire the next generation of girls. And we'll probably meander all over the place. And yeah, I won't ask you any strange questions, I hope. I'm not that famous, or I don't know any interesting questions about you. But yeah, if anything comes up, we'll just kind of deal with it as we go through it. Are you ready?
Okay, sounds great.
Okay. All right. Joining me today is Taylor from Virginia, and she needs no introduction, but I will introduce her anyway. Um, She is a graduate from the University of Tampa with an BFA in animation. She focuses on 2D animation and is inspired by Japanese style art. Because she's lived in Okinawa at least two times, she's a freelance artist and she's hoping to come back to Tokyo this summer. Fingers crossed.
Mhm.
And she might be going, or she will be going to Gaidai University for her master's in 2D animation. She's a big fan of anime, horror, and supernatural cinema. Well, I guess we'll be talking about Gordon Peele. And she wants to explore and experiment with 2D animation and horror. Welcome, Taylor.
Hello.
Hello. And for our show, I'm your host, Ron, here in Tokyo. And in the background, you can see some of Taylor's work. Let me just get over a little bit. There we go. And it is very beautiful. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get into this crazy world?
So I guess I'll start with Japan. So I grew up as a military child, and so we lived in Okinawa, Japan, for about 3 years when I was in elementary. And then we lived for 2 years of my first high school, my first year and second year of high school. And I really got into art when the first time we were in Japan. Um, I loved anime style. We saw anime everywhere in Okinawa, the bookstores, like everywhere. So I really loved that art style and I was trying to replicate it. Originally, I didn't know I was going to go to school for animation or anything art, really. I really actually wanted to be a theater major. Um, or I wanted to be a film major because I loved like making short films when I was younger. But it ended up being animation because I had to decide in my junior year when I was applying to schools. So uh, I started honing my skills and I made it here today. So that's a
Wow.
little bit about me. Yeah.
Um, okay, well, you said that, there was anime everywhere. There could be all kinds of things around, but was there, we say, like an aha moment that you said, oh, this is something I'd like to get into? Was there any particular movie you watched, or did one day you
Mm.
just looked in a window, someone passed you a manga and said, what's this? Was there any particular moments like that?
When I moved back to the States after my first time in Japan, I really got into the show Naruto, and I loved the storyline, and I thought that I could replicate something like that. So I created a character that I felt, would be like the character I would use if I were to make an anime. I honestly did not know like Naruto was actually like anime. I didn't even know what anime really was. I just knew it was like Japanese style animation. But um, so when I was watching Naruto, I figured I was like, I want to do something like this. I want to make something like this, and um, I want it to be more in the states because watching it on Toonami, um, I was like, well, there has to be like a lot more anime than this. Like, I don't know because I only watched Naruto and One Piece, and I didn't know that there was like a ton of other anime that like I missed out on.
How
And so
old were you?
after,
Sorry, how old were you at that time when you were discovering
um,
Naruto?
really, I was like 9 when I really discovered it, but when I like started actually, no kidding, like getting into it, I was about 12, I believe.
Still on the
Um,
base.
yeah. And then after we moved, uh, I got more into it and I started watching it more and more. And then I found like manga and I started reading that too. So that's really where it started.
Let's see if I can share a screen with you, and I can go to um, one thing that we can see here. So I'd love to just have a look at Naruto with you and see how you see it. See how you see it, and is there any Naruto you like, a particular one, or any of them are fine?
The fighting scenes are mostly fun. Well, that one, the Momoshiki one,
Is
pretty good
that's pretty good? Okay, let's look
of the
through it
fight.
and see through your viewpoint of this. So what do we see in here? Ooh,
So basically, this was something that I really wanted to do mostly was fight scenes. I still have to get used to it, but I felt that it was is sharp and it's something that we don't typically see in American animation. It's there's a lot of action and things happen animation wise that we're not used to. So um,
that looks like
when the
live action.
fighting, yeah, it's almost like live action.
And
And
you
I'm pretty
saw.
sure.
Mm.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. You're sure?
Oh, I was pretty sure they used lots of like references, like fighting references, to replicate these scenes too. So that probably involves some rotoscopy, which is like copying live action
Right. So there were people,
footage.
because this looks like Naruto looks like And tell us about these characters. Who's this
Okay.
guy? Who's that guy?
Um. So Naruto is the main character. It's the one with the blonde hair. It's the one that's like orange right now.
Yeah.
So a lot happens in Naruto because there's like 700 episodes, 700 chapters,
Okay.
and it's still going to this day. But basically, Naruto's about these two. They're best friends, and one wants revenge, which is the black-haired one, named
Okay.
Sasuke.
That's
He wants
Sasaki.
revenge for the murder of his clan. And the person who murdered his clan was his brother. And his brother also joined a terrorist organization. Um, and he wants to basically get his revenge on his brother. And Naruto doesn't want him to go on the path that he's going on because it requires him to kill a lot of people and become his own worst enemy. So the basis of Naruto is that he's looking for his best friend and he wants to save him from himself, pretty much.
And who's this guy? The Momoshiki.
He is. This is from actually a movie,
Right.
um,
Oh, that's not the
and it's
Momoshiki.
basically the start of the next generation of ninjas as they are. Um, and he was basically a villain in this movie. Um, it's been a while since I've watched it, but
It's okay. No
I
problem.
love this fight scene. And basically, like it's about Boruto, which is Naruto's son, but we get to see the two characters that we're used to in the original series team up and fight together instead of against each other, which is what we saw mostly in the original Naruto series.
Okay.
So that's what
Oh,
made this kind of like a big scene for a
yeah,
lot
and
of
that
people.
if you look at that, looked like his original face there. The ones that I was used to seeing when he had the kind of hat on, and yeah, that one there.
Hmm.
He has the hat on. Is there other type of Naruto's that you like, or there's some here on the side I'm looking at?
Um,
Just trying to get an idea, like what or besides Naruto, is there any other type of anime that we can look at that kind of influences you?
I really like horror anime. Um, but I don't know if I want to show this one because this is like a lot of blood when it comes to it.
So,
But if
well,
you know anything about,
walk me through like when what's the attraction with horror anime?
for me, I love horror movies.
Oh,
So I
okay,
wanted
okay,
to see if they could replicate um, the feeling of eeriness and horror within actual animation, which is why I want to go on the path of making horror animation because it's just something that it exists, but it's not. There's not a lot of horror anime or horror animation done. So
okay.
I would like to see this type of horror, new horror, in a way that people are not used to.
I'm gonna say something, and what I'm gonna say is, maybe black people, people of color, have seen enough horror as it is. They don't need it animated because they live it daily. Um, so what do you say to that? I say they've seen enough. They don't need to have it visualized. But what do you say to that?
Um,
Do you
it really
understand?
depends
Yeah,
because if we're talking about horror against like stuff like slavery is very like horrifying for us,
right.
and seeing it like replicated and over again with these like post like these slavery type things. I think what black people who are a fan of horror really want to see is that we want to see us playing as the main characters in these
Ah,
stories. We don't want to be the people that it's
don't say
happening
that.
to,
Yeah, the best
but
friend.
um, we really want to see us be the star and the savior. You know, we want to see us in fantasy worlds and stuff like that, and maybe paranormal activities. Um, but yeah, and I think Jordan Peele is starting to do that, is starting to explore a little bit with that.
Right.
Um,
We got this new one here called, well, um, what do we got? Bad Hair. Have you heard of any of these? I know definitely Get Out you've heard of.
I cannot watch. I saw the trailer for Bad Hair, and I just cannot watch that because I just like it just gives me PTSD when it comes to hair. So,
Okay.
doing my hair and everything. But I have not seen that, but I will see it one day. But it was very
Now it's an
interesting concept.
yeah, no, it is an interesting, well, I mean, idea what you were saying, to see us as the protagonist instead of, having, the best friend. And
Hmm.
even I'll have to say it, I was in a small film here, uh, and yeah, I was kind of like the best friend. Um,
Yeah, we
and
need to get out of those best friend tropes. Well, let's just say that, and we could stop dying first too. Let's start with that. In horror movies, it seems like mm, black actors always die first,
yeah,
and
or
if they don't die first, they die last.
yeah,
So you know
or they kind of
how
make it
to
out, but they're not like, so they're not the main person and they're not the hero. It's like a sidekick, and
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and I haven't seen very many horror movies. I mean, there's a typical thing: certain body shape and Caucasian, blonde hair. Sometimes they make very risky films, and they put her with as a brunette. But far and in between, they're having yeah, women of color, Asian women. Here in Japan, it's all Asian. So if there's a horror movie, there's going to be definitely a protagonist who's Asian. It's a little
Yeah.
bit different dynamics here.
Right.
Um, when you're thinking of animation, and we're seeing things like, we'll just go right to news, like George Floyd situation. Um, how does that affect you? Does that say, oh well, that's horrible, but I'm gonna still continue with the horror? Does it anything in society translate to what your work comes through?
Mm,
If I'm
it's
coming
hard
across
to
clear?
say because not it doesn't really the type of horror I wanted to do was more of like a paranormal aspect of horror and not a society type aspect.
Oh, it's
So it
like a
doesn't
world by
really,
itself. Okay.
yeah, so it doesn't really like affect me my work per se, but it does bother me in my life to see these things happen. Um, and in fact, it pretty much encourages me to move forward and try to become someone that people know, that people can look up to, like Black artists.
Well,
Um,
that'd
that
be amazing.
people can say like, oh, like we could do that too. Like we can make stuff too. Like we could be creative and stuff like that. So I think in terms of that, that's how it affects me.
Okay. I want to show also your work here, and let me just get in a different screen, because your work can speak for itself. So let's let it speak, and let's go to your work. And can you tell us how your work influenced you, like,
Mm,
or how you're looking for your work to influence the next generation?
so the work that I have now is pretty much a little bit more bubbly than I'd like it to be. There's the most of my work is just either 2 minutes to 3 minutes long, and what I really wanted to do is I really want to make feature length stuff. So I'm getting to that point where I'm making longer and longer animations, and
Okay.
as far as my work goes, I just want to inspire people to just create, especially Black creators. I want them to be confident in themselves and that they can improve in their art and they can do whatever art they want to do. That's all I want to show as artists to other artists.
What do you think the generation now that's coming up? What do you think their obstacles are versus when you were in Okinawa? Has there been a big shift for availability?
Mm, well, I say it's a lot harder because now a lot of people are becoming artists and creators and stuff like that. So now the competition is higher. Um, and I can see that in the job market as well. As a new graduate, I can see that
Right.
um, everywhere. So I mean, it's pretty competitive these days.
Can you walk us through this animation? What are you doing a lot in this video?
Um, I can see the video. In the video that I gave you, it basically has um, just random things that I've done over the past few years,
Okay.
mostly experimental type stuff. So it could be Christmas related. Most of them have like themes that I like to show, um, but it's mostly just a, an improvement of my skills. Usually, I just like to see what I can do as an animator. I do love to animate hair, So in my videos, you can see that a lot.
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Um,
Yeah, and
it's
it's moving
stuff that I
around.
like to, yeah, I like to experiment with. Um,
Is it hard?
uh,
Because
More like
everyone's hair is moving
tedious.
around.
It's more like tedious because to it's a lot, especially if you're moving the character and the hair at the same time. A lot of like new artists, um, they tend to move the body, but then the hair doesn't move, and sometimes it
Ah,
can be a
okay.
little bit like unrealistic. And then there's me who moves the hair but doesn't move the body. So I'm basically doing the opposite, uh,
Right.
but I'm still trying to get used to moving every single part at one time, and hopefully I can like be bet be so good to be just like anime to where like everything can move at the same time, and you know things.
So let's have a look at again your work on your website. Um, give us the give us the. I think I got it here. Can you give us your handle for your YouTube site?
My handle,
Yeah, or sorry. So if people want to look at YouTube to look at your work,
oh, Suzuki Doll.
that's right. Suzuki Doll.
It's one word.
Yep. Let's see what comes up.
Official,
There we
and
go.
yeah, there it is.
And let's see which one would be something good you'd like to show off.
Um,
So I did like your
uh,
opening.
yeah, I mean, I guess we can go with the Fanime story concept at the top there. Um, it was when basically I was starting to um, try to branch out from my original, because my style changes like every so often.
Right.
So usually, sometimes when I take breaks, I get better for some reason, more
That's your
so than
brain.
like
Your brain keeps
constantly,
going.
yeah, constantly making. I feel that I'm going down in my skills when I continuously like do something over and over and over again. So I like to take breaks, mental too, so that it could like help me um, in the long run.
Walk me
But
through this one.
yeah,
Sorry, walk me through this one we're seeing.
so this was an original idea of mine a long, long, long time ago when I actually first went to Japan. I had this character with the pink hair, and she was supposed to be like the daughter of like a demon or something.
Of course.
And she lived in this town where people are getting attacked by demons on the daily. So basically she has to figure out like what's wrong with the town and how could she stop these demons from coming, even though she's technically a demon herself, but she doesn't realize that later. So
It's
this
every girl's
video was
problem.
basically a kind of like a redo of what I created a long time ago.
But some of your
I
ideas just get better and better, as you said. You take
Yeah,
time
like
off and ah,
I usually create the ideas that I created like a long time ago. I wrote down. So I now that I have the skills to do what I can do, I go back and I try to like remake stuff that I created that people might not even know about. But I to me it's not a fresh idea. It's something that I just came up with when I was younger.
it's been
So
festering and festering.
yeah, so there's been a lot of like short animations that I've been doing to kind of conceptualize my ideas and see what people think of it.
Okay, let's look through this. So now this other girl's appeared. So you said she went to a new town, and for me, I see that that's girls who can relate to moving to new places, and you are not a stranger to that. So do you see that as a reflection? Like that's because that's where I think the best art comes from, where it's a personal experience. Like you are as an army brat, if I can use that term,
Green.
you you moved around and you're sometimes the new girl in town. You got to find out what are the new rules in this new town. Okinawa is different from Germany. Germany's different from different places. Are there some other countries that you've had to live in besides Japan?
No, Japan was the only like
Oh,
overseas
okay.
company, yeah,
You're
which is
pretty lucky.
why. Yeah, yeah, pretty much that was the only place I've been to overseas. So,
Oh, but you've
I mean,
moved
I
to other
can see it.
places in the
I did move to
U.S.
other places within the U.S. though, mostly on the East Coast. I don't think I've been on the West Coast so
Now,
far.
we'll jump to some kind of topic in the military a little bit. Now, there's Fort Hood, which had some unfortunately bad incidents that happened there. Do you think any of your work would have been affected had your family been stationed in Fort Hood and then they had some, unfortunately, some people passed away, quite a few of them, within
Mm.
Fort Hood. So if there's some violence within the base, would that have affected you at all?
Personally, yes, it would have bothered me a lot. Um,
Okay,
it would have put me in an anxiety, you know. And I'm still kind of in an anxiety where I'm now just like constantly looking around, constantly in fear of, what could happen to me. Um,
really,
so to
that
hear
really
about
that
this,
sorry, that really affects other young people at bases when they see one thing
mhm,
at a base. Okay, sorry, I guess
especially on a base, like, you're
oh,
taught
on a base. Okay,
that, being on this base is safe, it's safe for you. And then turn around and look, it's not safe, like at all. Like, and not only that, the bases are closed off. So it's just, it just creates this anxiety in people when they find stuff out about things like that.
I think a lot of us might not be aware of base life. And is there any like top 10 things that if somebody came to a base to live, what kind of experiences are different from you going to like a regular school? What's a base school like, and how does it work
Mm.
sometimes?
Well, base schools are really no different than public schools. It's more so, I believe it's more so closer to a private school than a public school.
Okay.
But it's it's just a bunch of military kids, um, and we all have the same experiences, like moving constantly and stuff like that. So we could all like kind of relate to each other, and we're not surprised when someone has to move away and stuff like that. It does get kind of sad and tedious because now you're constantly moving, you're constantly losing friends, you're constantly, and there's, in a time where Facebook wasn't that popular, or social media wasn't that popular, you couldn't
Write a
really
letter.
contact anybody you wanted to. Um, and so it was difficult at times, but I think that the kids these days have it a little bit easier, because they have that social media that they can keep in contact with. But me growing up, I didn't really have like all of that, you know. So living on the base, it depends on the person, but if you're used to it, like if you grew into it like me, it's basically like a giant home. Like you can go anywhere and it can be
Can you go anywhere?
safe relatively. Um, Anywhere on the base is safe. But if you look at it from an outsider perspective, you might think that it's too closed off, or too secluded, or too jail like, because it's it's hard to get on the base. Some bases are hard to get on. You have to have a military ID, and then there's some bases where only one of you have to have a military ID, or you
Oh,
just
all the
don't
time.
know. Yeah. So I guess growing up in the military, it doesn't bother me at all. But someone who just like straight out the bat just goes into, a military base, they may or may not have a problem with it. But there are times where the base can be like shut down. Like in Okinawa, we had the base shut down a couple times,
Yeah.
because some of the military men would do things off base that was illegal or something,
Right.
and it would cause the base to shut down, which means we can't go off the base.
Right.
And so
Collective
it
punishment.
yeah, it's like a collective punishment thing. So that could bother some people, make them feel a little bit claustrophobic. But everything we need is usually on the base. We have food places, we have a commissary, which is like a grocery store. Um, we have basically every necessity that we pretty much need on a base.
Wow, wow, wow. I've been very lucky. I've gotten many commissary food and jewelry if I wanted to get
Mm-hmm.
it. Seeing Popeyes in Japan was very good. I think Yokosuka base, or no, there's another base uh, not far from Kokabunji that I went to a few times, and yeah, it. I mean, for me, I'm just in awe. Everything's kind of spread out.
Okay.
This was an Air Force
Yeah.
base. Everything was kind of spread, but I think it's because everyone knows where they should be, and
Right.
but it was nice. It did feel like I was in the States. I was
Hmm.
stateside because it's kind of its own world here in Japan. I've been a few times.
Right.
Um, yeah, I think in Canada I was at the base once, but yeah, we went for a dance. I was high school or something, and someone had a dance. I was obsessed with going out to all ages events, and so some kids on the base put something together at a DJ. The only funny thing I saw on the base that time, so we went to the dance, and yeah, everything was cool. I'm not sure if we how long we stayed, but um, there was a guy getting pizza delivery on the base, so the pizza guy was going through, and then the military police stopped him. I guess in Canada they didn't have big checkpoints, but the military
Hmm.
police stopped the pizza guy, and I said, "Wow, that's interesting." Of course, he's delivering pizza. There's nothing really, dangerous with him. And the pizza guy was, I guess, a little bit confused because somebody on the base ordered the pizza. But you have to have security. The Canadian base might be a little bit easier to get on than the American base, depending where you are and what's on the base. Personnel versus special buildings and things
Right.
like that. So, um, wow. So anxiety. So definitely the anxiety that one could feel, or to get away from the anxiety, you can turn it to the characters. And do you think anyone will see that? Like I'm seeing this girl. She's another girl that's on in the town. This girl on the
Hmm.
screen. Okay, what's she's just a friend. She's in the same class.
Yes. So there's two other characters, um,
That girl.
and
Yeah.
the girl with black hair and the girl with the brown hair, and they're basically in her class, and they're her friends, and but um, they are also kind of like not human, but she doesn't realize. Then none of them really realize it until like afterward. At least that's how the story went when I was making it.
It's like a therapy
Um,
course. It's like a therapy course.
yeah,
Look at on the screen. I'm not in a position to help you. I mean, all of this stuff that you're I'm seeing here from what you're saying, like this is like a therapy session. You have some trouble?
yeah.
Go watch my animation and oh, okay. And do you think just on a side note, do you think kids on the base could watch more horror movies than the regular kid, or is there any special tastes with kids?
I don't know. The majority of like base kids, or at least when I was growing up, the majority liked romance and uh action. Action movies were huge, like when they came out, because they would come out in the States first, I believe, and then it would come on base for in Okinawa, and so it was like packed to the T. Like for weeks, it was packed for action movies. So I'm not sure. Horror movies weren't really that as packed as the action movies. So I think
Well,
it's kind of the same when it comes to that. So
well, they didn't see your horror movie yet, so here we go. So walk us
yeah,
through this one. Um, Anything more? Why did you switch to black and white? What was the color? The color was to introduce the character, and they all look like they were attacked. I think in the premise it said these girls were attacked by something, and this is them talking after.
Yeah, it's more like a kind of like a trailer kind of thing. Um, so I previously made this animation um, in school, and the black and white was supposed to represent the old animation, the old uh, little
Ah,
episode that I created. So
oh,
my
okay.
longtime followers would probably know about it. Um, but yeah, so it's basically like a just like kind of like a trailer to like show that I'm going to continue this, and I'm going to I'm going to try to extend it um, from the old uh, thing. So.
Let's talk a little bit about fan base, and then we can get into some of the tools that you're using in 2D, from Maya or to what have you. But when you're creating a fan base, how difficult is it, and what is your fan base like? Are they other kids that you've met? Is it adults? Like in here in Japan, it's not uncommon to have um, salarymen, office guys who are working the office to go and see animation of all kinds. It helps,
Mhm.
I'm guessing, cathartically, it helps them relax, to get back to something other than the mundane, the mundane office. Stamp, 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 and put this in fax that they can just watch this animation. What kind of fans watch your stuff, and who do you want?
Um, of course they have fans. I mean, I do
You
have
mentioned the word
followers.
fans. You said my fans. So who are your fans?
Yeah. So my old followers that's been following me since the beginning of my channel.
Oh, that's
I guess they're
great.
considered fans.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I mean, they know that I'm still like working on my skills because in the beginning of my channel, what I would post was like speed paints or me drawing or something like that. And then I started with animations. And so I think that as they're seeing my art progress more to like towards horror and stuff like that, they're starting to see what I want to do in the future. Um,
Oh, you're
but
not
yeah,
just a flash in the pan. You're there's something happening here. Have you gotten some good compliments from fans? What have they said to you? Because you did this speed paint, and oh, you're a great artist. And then what kind of things have they been getting back to you about?
I think most of the time they're just praising my improvements. Um, New fans would probably say, "Oh, this could be a thing. Like, I can't wait to see
It's been a
more."
thing for a
And
while. Where have you been?
right, like like I can't wait to see more. And whenever I like hear those comments, I get like really pumped up because now I'm like, oh well, you know what? I'm gonna show you more. Like,
That was just last
so
week's. Yeah.
yeah,
What's happening here? She is she a demon?
yeah. So
Ah,
the main character and everyone else is kind of like on demon
they're all
type.
demons.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is a good way to horrify kids. I find kids in Japan are not horrified by horror.
really.
Yeah, well, there's some weird stuff. Like there's one particular animation right now that seems to be rocking through. I think it's because it's everywhere. It's in the malls. It's even at McDonald's.
Is it Attack on Titan?
No, no, that would be
No.
for your grandfather now, or for your parents. There's a new Attack on Titan that's coming out. I guess the next generation. Apparently, the movie flopped. They put
Mm.
every star in there. There was some problem that came out. I don't know if it was a big problem. Um, the There in Japan when they want a crowd scene, they bring in extras that are fans, and for TV shows too. This is how they can get fans involved. So the fans come out, they're part of the production, but they were kind of treated harshly, like ordered, go here, go there, no, 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 and so they got big stars, and of course the stars are doing their star thing, but the fans that came out, they were background extras, but because they were ridiculed a lot, that got in the media a lot. Like they were just, they had hot days. I guess they were shooting in the hot weather because Japan's weather goes up and down. Like winter
Mhm.
is hot, and summer is cold. And anyways, they were out filming long days, and I think it was during a heat wave, so they were given very little water and treated harshly. That combination kind of I heard about it, and I'm not Japanese, so I can imagine it went through everywhere. So it's just saying like we made the live action Attack on Titan, but the people weren't treated well, and it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And there are some big stars in it, but just I guess with that the bad taste in your mouth can bring down. I don't know how much it influenced the movie, but for whatever reason, sometimes the animation and the live action just don't connect. You can put as many stars as you want in it, just the bad film is just going to be a bad film. So
Right.
yeah, unfortunately. No, there's another demon one. The one she has this special thing like put in her mouth, and she can't open her mouth because
Oh, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Demon Slayer, Demon
yeah,
Slayer.
that's right, that's right. And I've been trying to get away from it, being around kids all the time. They completely ask, "Can I color this? Can I color this?" And you want to color a demon? Yeah, it's my passion. If they can say all that, you're impressed with their English, but you're just saying, "Oh." So I've tried to steer them away. It's very hard. You can't compete against something that's played in McDonald's. Well, not played in McDonald's,
Right.
but it's McDonald's realized if we don't, our Happy Meals are going to be irrelevant unless we have the characters there. So they quickly made a deal. Do you want to see your horror stuff get in McDonald's or Burger King?
Man, if I could, I would love that. I think I'd be embarrassed though, just a little bit, because
Look
like
at mommy's
now
work.
it's on a burger. Like I don't know, it's on a drink coaster. It's just I don't know. It's just
Got to dream
I
big.
was
You got to dream.
excited as a kid buying stuff, that had anime on it, like especially in McDonald's.
Naruto
Oh
made it
man.
into I think McDonald's a few times because Naruto got a big hype. I think it was before he had his U.S. jump, but I think
Mhm.
maybe you were away from Japan at that time. But yeah, Naruto definitely got in McDonald's, I believe. I probably made this, the Happy Meal thing, or they had a Naruto drink set. Um, but yeah, yeah. So your dream would be to be on a meal set, or what is your dream? What would you say? What do you want to be
Hmm.
doing? Your fans say, "Tell us what do you want to do in the future."
My dream is to own my own small studio. Um, Hopefully, it could be in Japan. Even if it's here, I would just love to hold my own little small studio. And I'd like to be known for, you know, my animations and the horror aspect of it. I would love to. So,
Well,
like,
before I pitch you my, I'm going to call it a thriller, not a horror. Um, Tell us what tools are you using to do your animation, and is there any um, tools like, I'm not a big expert on animation, so the creation that you did here, um, Torio Kira, what tools did you use to create that, and how is the tools you're using changing your art?
mm, okay. So I use Clip Studio Paint. I
Clip
used
Studio Paint,
to,
okay?
yeah, Clip Studio Paint. And I don't know where I found it, but I found it and I was like, I want to use this. And I bought it, and because it's a one time buy.
Of course.
And I didn't use it for like 3 years. I didn't use it. So I just, because when I was on it, I was like, I'm so confused. I don't know what this is like. And then one day I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna explore this. I'm gonna explore it. So um, I used it, and now I'm like obsessed with it. Now, like everything I make is from that program. It could do animation. It could do basic arts, digital painting, basically anything you want. It can even translate to Photoshop files. So
That's pretty
it's one
good
of my
then.
favorite programs. I used to use Paint. tool size, and I used to use just regular paint,
Let's look at,
like the one that comes in.
let's look at some of your work here and see if you can explain what you've used. So, um, can you, okay, so for the Toro Kira opening, that, what tool did you use for that?
Clip Studio Paint
Okay, Clip
and
Studio
After Effects.
and After Effects. Give us, what's another one we can look at and see some different tools?
11, the one before it,
Oh,
that
this one.
one I used also Clip Studio Paint and After Effects. After Effects for like the backgrounds and um, the words and things like that.
Who is
Um,
11 Khalid? Is that your team?
11 is a song by Khalid.
Oh,
Um,
DJ Khalid. Okay.
well, not DJ, just Khalid.
Okay, lead. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. He's like a R&B ballad type singer. He's one of my favorites. I love
And you
the
want
way
to
he
do a
sings.
shout out to
But
him.
shout out, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I started this little series where I would rotoscopy, which is like, you know, drawing over like live action footage.
Is that being done here?
Yeah. And so I would put like my character on it and whatnot. I did another one before this that was just black, like just a black silhouette character. Um,
Is this one here?
um, lower
Oh, sorry.
is down.
Let's get out
I
of there.
believe it. I believe it's the other Khalid. That one.
Oh,
The
this one?
up, up a little bit.
Oh,
Up. It's the Talk by Khalid near the school looking thing.
here.
Yeah, that one. That was my first one.
Oh, let's get a good reaction.
It was my actually it was one of the first times I was using After Effects as well. I didn't know After Effects and Clip Studio went so well together,
Yeah.
but I figured that even like if to all the other artists out there, there's not one program that could do everything. So
You need a combination.
you could try to do everything on one program, but really like make it easier for yourself and use some other programs to go with it.
What are good combos that you
Let's
feel?
see, Photoshop and After Effects.
Okay, Photoshop and After Effects. I've
I
definitely heard
believe
those two together.
yes. Clip Studio Paint and After Effects. If you like vector drawings, then I believe Illustrator and Photoshop go really well together. Um, and I believe that's it. That's what I, and of course, you know, you have the video software where you put video together, like Adobe Premiere or Sony Vegas Studio. Just, you know, people who are creating also have to be careful because some um,
Like for
like
rendering.
files don't translate that well, and others,
Rendering.
especially the Adobe product, like anything Adobe, you have to be kind of careful because if it's not updated or anything, like it might like cause an error.
Oh, that could be a problem.
Yeah.
Let's just, before I pitch you my story and you can tell me about what are you doing here?
Here I'm just doing a speed paint a of a of a comic book that I wanted to start. Um, I'm going to redo it one day. So I'm just showing people like how I draw and what my process is and everything
What
like that.
what software are you using?
This is Clip Studio Paint.
Clip Studio. Okay, we'll really see how it goes here. Okay, good. And how long? So you're just kind of going through exactly. Okay, I've seen another artist that I had on also did the same thing, and it goes very quick, and you get to erase a lot of stuff. It's a board that can erase. It's like a whiteboard.
Right. It's exactly like that actually. Thanks to speed paint, we could speed it up our time. Um, but normally it takes, depending on the artist, but for me, it takes probably an hour or less. Now it's a lot less because I've gotten used to how I draw and my own style. But for new artists, it might take them up to like an hour. For digital painters, it might take days to create just what they create because
Got
the
to get
digital
used to it.
painters is a lot harder for them. Um,
Yeah, it doesn't look
but yeah,
easy, but it looks like definitely. So when you say it would take an hour, like when you're speed painting, does that literally mean like you're painting slowly and then it kind of speeds it up, or are you doing this live?
I am not doing this live. This basically it just I do a video about it and then I speed it up myself so that
Oh,
the
okay, like two
YouTube
or three
doesn't take
times.
like an hour upload of something.
But this is just something out of your imagination you're taking right now, or it's a common character that you used.
At the time I was creating this, it wasn't really a common character,
Oh, so it's
but
pretty new.
so when I was drawing it, I kind of just did what I wanted, like at the time. Um, I did sketch it first, and then I line art it, which is what I was doing at this moment.
Yeah,
Um,
looks great.
but most of the stuff that I do comes straight out of my head. I don't plan it. I just draw it and hope it comes out well.
No,
So
no, it looks really good, and um, when I'm drawn in front of 7-year-olds or 6-year-olds, they're like, "Wow!" Um, but it's just yeah, I'm draw. I just follow everything. I'm a good copier. I don't know if I could do this, but yeah, patiently I can probably at the 2D level I can do something of this, but the coloring part, yeah, like that's a whole different level for me. I mean, it really adds everything to it. Um, so what? So you come up with characters in your head, and
mhm.
oh, you're changing your music. That's so funny. Um, Guess you got to get inspired. Um, how long would this one that you're working on take? And you're taking clip art in there as well.
um,
What were you
I
doing with the
say
different screens? Is that just getting different art?
so. For me, I like to for this was a black and white drawing. But sometimes I don't remember the colors that I use. So I make a separate document and I put the colors that I'm going to use, like for hair, this is the color, for skin, this is the color. And then I put it in like that. It helps me like remember like what things are
Oh,
because
your like
sometimes,
color palette. Okay.
yeah, color palettes. Yeah,
Dang.
that's it.
That's
But yeah, so I
okay.
do it like that.
Now, as a writer, we have an outline. So we outline this is where I want this story going, and for us, we're told it's better if you know the ending, and then you can either go to the ending first and then work your way back to get there, or you can
Mhm.
outline. And then some other artists like Stephen King said, don't outline at all. How are you going to flow? Like whatever comes to you, let it. You know, what schools are you with? The people that kind of plan everything out. It seems that's about 75%, and then there's the Stephen King school that just says he doesn't plan anything. I mean, he has quite a lot of experience, and like you could do this yourself and create something. What do you think about that? Like people outlining their idea very clearly and then going through it and creating it. Where do you stand
You
on
know
that?
what? That takes some talent because the only thing I don't plan out is what I'm drawing, but everything else I plan out. So I mean, if it's like a reoccurring character that I like know, like oh, they have specific colors. I usually have a palette for them, but when
Already
I'm
planned.
drawing them, I don't have a like I don't have a destination for like what's gonna be in the drawing. I just draw them and then later on I take the colors that I, save to put it on there. But I really don't because I used to want to be an author. And so what I do is I would plan out the ending first I would say, oh, this is the basis of the story, and then this is the end. And then like from then on, I would kind of just like write it until it gets to that end. I guess that's kind of what I guess Stephen King was kind of going for. But
Well, no,
for the
he's a
most part,
non-planner. He doesn't
oh,
like.
he's a non.
Sorry, he's that one part that doesn't want to plan. He doesn't know how Cujo's going to end. And
Mm,
you know they're all based on things closer to him, but he said
that's
he
hard to
doesn't
me.
like the planet, huh?
That's hard to me because I have an idea in my head. I'm like, oh, I want it to be a dystopian, you know, society or whatever, and then I want to know how it ends, like before. So I mean, I guess I'm the 75% who has to plan it out.
Yeah, I've gone either way. I've put cards up on the wall saying, you know, and you know we're how we do it is we layer out the beats, and we're just saying, hey, this is how everything's gonna layer. Like this is the opening scene. This is Act One, Two, and Three. If we do it that way, and I've done that before, but I still can get caught. There's a few tricks, you know, how to you got to make sure your story, your through line, like this is a story about redemption. This is a story about sadness. This is somebody overcoming. And everything is supposed to aim towards that. Every character you meet is going to put a hurdle in front of you that eventually you're going to overcome to create a new character that can, like, how you start and how you end, that character has to change. If you don't change, you're going to have some trouble, and that's kind of how we're supposed to map everything out. And it creates, it creates a kind of, sometimes a boring palette where, we don't know, or we know everything, and then oh no, nothing's exciting anymore. So I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it works like that. I can write, and then other times I can't. So it just really depends on every artist. But yeah, I'm with you. Like I like to plan everything. I've tried to do the ending, and I'll tell you something. Once you do the ending, it's really easy to create because you already know what you're gonna do. There's no super surprises. He's gonna kill so and so at the end, or these two people are gonna kind of make it because you've already written that part. You don't have to figure it out. So sometimes that's really nice. So I wanted to throw a kind of story idea at you, and I want to hear what you think about it. Maybe another time we can look at it. Um, so I have a story. Are you ready?
Yeah,
I
I'm
have a
ready.
story called Ghost Girl of Roppongi, and it's based on an idea of a girl got cursed because she um, she did something. I think at the time she had an abortion or something. So of course, you can have things like the moon lined up, or it was the
Mm-hmm.
day the Allies came in or something. She was about to have a abortion, and then she got under a curse. So we don't know if she went through with the abortion. And then it talks about, the abortion and how would it have been for a girl who is of Asian descent during World War II, and was it a foreigner's baby, or was it, just a love child of Japanese soldier? I'm gonna die. I'm gonna be a kamikaze pilot, but we don't know that background. Just the only thing we know is um, she was possibly going to have an abortion. So I wanted that topic out there. And this was like around World War I, and then something happens to her. The story, she just disappears. We go back. We start with modern day. I'm sure you know this place called Roppongi here in Tokyo, and she's cursed to appear in Roppongi every 10 or 20 years, and if she can help three strangers, she's possibly going to lift the curse. So the story opens with three strangers at a bar talking. Hey, and they're talking to the bartender, and this guy says, "Oh, you wouldn't believe my week. It's been really unusual. I was going to lose this account, and I got it. Oh, that sounds like what happened to this person." And all the three people got help that week, and they all recount their stories. And as they're recounting their stories, it seems the same type of girl was helping them. Same description. Was she this height, and was she that? So they didn't know it was a ghost helping them, but she keeps kind of appears as a human form for 1 week in the Roppongi area. So the people have to go in Roppongi for something, like they can work in the area or go for drinks, but she helps them change their life. They recount their stories, and then at the end we find out, did the ghost girl get released from the curse? And what do you think of that story?
I think that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
It sounds really good actually. I can actually see that as like a comic too.
Yay,
Um,
I'm gonna get
but
help.
yeah, yeah, I would definitely read something like that.
Oh, really?
There was
Okay.
this is a I wouldn't say similar, but there's this anime called Hell Girl, um,
Oh, what's that?
where she was cursed and she had to work for kind of like the devil, I guess. And what happens is she has to there's this online website that you go to curse someone to send them to hell immediately.
Ah, okay.
But the problem is if you send them to hell immediately, then you go to hell when eventually if you die, whenever you die, you will also go to hell. So people would do it to curse their enemies or their stalkers or something like that. And she would come and she would basically take care of them all in like one day.
Oh, she would
And
help somebody out and stuff.
yeah, she would help somebody out. But the problem is that if it's you that she's helping, you also go to hell for sending someone else to hell immediately. So
Oh, oh, but if she does it, um,
so if you put someone's name into the website, then she will come for that person. She will come for
okay.
that person. And then you will have a mark on you for whenever you die, which it could be like 10, 20, when you're 90, whenever you die, you have to go to hell too.
Yikes. You can punish your
Yeah,
enemy, but you're
that
going to be punished.
sucks.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's an
So
interesting
it put
concept.
it put people in conflict because they were like, well, is this worth going to hell for? Like, you know, like sending my enemy to hell, is that worth going to hell as well?
I I
So
think that really puts that's an interesting thing because that's it starts talking about redemption, like or
mhm,
forgiveness. Can you forgive somebody?
mhm,
If you look at it from that perspective, like if you can forgive people because maybe it's from what I've heard for revenge. Revenge is a bitter pill, or it's you can have it on a it's a
mhm,
cold dish, best served cold. I guess it's a Klingon thing. Um,
mhm.
but the thing is also, if you're going after revenge, you become the people that you're trying to get revenge on if you don't do it in like kind of like you don't do it to an extent where you're going to change because
Right.
you do want your revenge, but sometimes you go to kill people and then you become a killer, and because the killing is wrong and you change. So it's one of those interesting things, and definitely
Yeah.
I see people reaching, even though it's a Japanese thing, right? It's a hell
Mhm.
story, so
Yeah.
definitely that comes right out of the Bible because
Yeah.
I think from Proverbs or Ecclesiastics, like they say, be careful of the company you keep. Don't take revenge. Let me take. God says, let me take revenge. And in the Hell Girl, she's saying she'll take revenge for you instead of you doing
Mhm.
it.
Out of
But
Christ.
but definitely that's straight out of the Bible, saying that Christians are not supposed to take revenge, even though you might have been wronged, because we turn into the people. If everyone's taking revenge on each other in the neighborhood, everyone's going to be killing each other because oh, they looked at me the wrong way, or I think they're up to something. I'm going to take some revenge because they hurt someone down the street, and then it's a mad cycle, and in our society it
Right.
also can go crazy. Let's shift topics a little bit. What do you see as your contribution for girls in the future? Um, what do you want them to be able to do in the future? So if you were able to teach a group of girls or young kids, what do you want them to get out of your teaching?
I'd say the one thing I really want people to do is don't give up because I almost gave up with my art because I didn't think that I was good enough. And I still sometimes feel that way when I look at other artists and their amazing art on Instagram and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Um,
many followers.
but now instead of like giving up, I decided like, hey, why don't you try to improve yourself? Like, why don't you try to do something that, will make yourself proud? Because every art is different and every artist has different ways to get to where they are.
Oh,
Some
definitely.
artists are fast, some artists are slow, but if you don't give up, like I promise you, you will get to the point where you're satisfied with yourself. But yeah, that's what I really wanted to teach others, and that it's okay if Black girls like art and anime too.
Say it again. Say it again. Own it.
Yes, because man, I got so much crap for my art and like, oh, but you're Black, like you can't like that like art style, like, but you're a girl and you're supposed to only like makeup and stuff like that. So I mean, ignore that, please. At
What?
the end of the day,
Sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, at the end of the day, you're going to be doing what you want to do. So,
Wow, I feel inspired. One thing I did see in some of your art is body image. Um, Now we have this girl. I guess she'll look very average, but there was a girl that was larger in the rotoscope. And what what body image are you trying to say to girls? Like you can look like anyone? Because when girls see
mhm.
that, I think it's very positive because they can see, a plus size character and she doesn't have these certain proportions. She's just looks like a regular girl. And is that important for you to get that message across?
Oh, definitely. It's really important for me because, um, I'm considered a plus size girl. I mean, I've been exercising all the time, but you know, I have been considered a plus size at one point. And so, it's very important to show all kinds of body images and things like that, from average to really skinny to, plus size. It's very important. So, I mean, I think it's really important. And I'm trying to incorporate that more into my animations and my arts and everything. So,
Um, Now, I saw one time on a tag, or it was floated around on some message boards. It said the Japanese do not lie about their body image in clothing. How do you feel like the clothing is for the image? What's the image you think Japanese girls are being told here for their body? Or
from, I guess, my own perspective is, when I was in Japan, I was called fat a couple times by you know, old Japanese ladies. Like they would always call me fat. Like you're not gonna fit this. You're too fat, which is pretty much true for the most part because in Japan the clothing is like totally different size. But I really think that you know that Japan does have a size requirement or like a preference, um, and it can be really taxing for those who are not 100 pounds or not 95 pounds. So I definitely think that's something that that's a problem in a lot of societies. But yeah.
I saw in this one clothing, and maybe it's the same way. This is the one that oh, girl died. Um, the clothing said fat. They didn't mince words. And do you think the Japanese talk directly about body image a lot? And what's the like? Is it the idea that classical one you won't get married if you're a plus size person? Um, like how big is do you feel body images here versus
um,
back home?
I think it's definitely uh, bigger there, um, than here. Um, I haven't really spoke to Japanese people per se, like about that topic, but some of my Asian friends do talk about how their aunties and their parents kind of body shame them because they're a little overweight, like they're 110 pounds and they're supposed to be 100 pounds. It's healthier to be skinnier, which is not always true. But I do think it's definitely a problem. Um, and yeah, I don't think that, I think that in order to, for them to fix it, they're going to have to talk about it. And I heard that Japanese people don't typically talk about stuff like that, as
The
like a
feelings. Yeah.
honest conversation.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's gonna have to be talked about.
Well, definitely, that's a big thing. What are other topics that come up for you as we close here? For young people, like definitely the technology is better, and you're definitely saying that message, don't give up. So when people, and also as being a person of color, people, you're in a, like, there's no girl animator that I can think of. I apologize. Oh, you should be like a Jordan Peele. But what do you think in the future? There's a, like, an army of black animation women or Hispanic or Asian women. I'm sure there are already, but what do you think for them making a name for themselves, or a special alliance, like a kind of support? What do you think about that?
I would absolutely love that if more people, women of color, can do this technology stuff. And because growing up, it was like, I wasn't supposed to be doing it. Only males were supposed to get into technology and stuff like that. So I think it's really important that more women of color start. And I've been seeing a lot more women in color, and I think it's because of social media and all that. We're able to share our art now in a normal way. So to see more women of color, start animating, start drawing, it just fills me up with excitement because I thought I was kind of like the only one. I mean, I knew I wasn't the only one, but I felt like I was alone in this because, all the black women that I did talk to, they didn't even know what animation was until I said Disney. So, it's super important to have that representation, and I hope that they all go for it.
Um, Now, uh, what's a women's association? Is there any a women's animation association, or have I given you a good idea for the future?
Definitely a good idea for the future. I don't know really any of them, but I know some uh, like animation studios are starting to be like, oh, we want people of color to apply, please apply, and stuff like that. I've been seeing that a couple of times.
Yeah, I'm seeing it
Um,
too on the writer's side, and there's
yeah.
actually someone.
So,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, like, it's nice that they're doing that because now, like, it's giving us creators, you know, some encouragement to apply to certain things.
Do you feel, I've seen it even go further where they said they have people in good powers of position, yeah, positions of power, and they actually purposely went to look for people of color, and you can apply each month. They had different ways, like you can submit different work, but this is on the writer's side. So I definitely think it's there for animators. But what do you think if they're specifically targeted versus getting quotas? Like we want to look good that we have like 3% animators, but we want to get that up to 7. So they purposely ask. Do you think that's bad? Is like versus like you don't get accepted by your merit. Your
Mm-hmm.
California did this with affirmative action. Like if you hired any manager, it had to be a black manager. So people knew that manager didn't qualify. They're coming under the quota system. How do you feel about that? That you might have come in the quota generation versus your talent. It's a heavy competition, but you got in a studio, you got in Pixar, you got in Disney, in Ghibli Studios to your happiness, but it was because of a quota system. Do you feel that might come up in the future?
Um, it's definitely happening now, and it gives me mixed feelings because now, like, you're not just hiring me because of my skill set, you're just hiring me because you know, a person of color. Um, but also on the other side, you're hiring me, and I happen to be a person of color.
I'm in the door.
So, I mean, it does give me a little bit mixed feelings because I noticed that even with commercials and stuff, diversity is becoming a trend. I wish it wouldn't be a trend, but just something people want to do out of, just just to see, diversity and not just do it because, just because, it's a trend now to have black people in commercials or it's a trend now to do this. Um, I want them to actually want to do it, for the benefit of society. And I think they're also doing it too because the generation coming up is a lot more diverse and
Oh yeah.
yeah, they're not accepting for certain things. So, but very they're very accepting, like when it comes to like, progressive stuff. And they'll call you out on stuff. So I think they're definitely doing it for the new generation.
Well,
Um,
I definitely think people getting breaks now that they couldn't get before.
mhm.
That's on the shoulders of other people. Other people have blazed those trails. There was a girl, I'll try to send it to you, and I can't remember her name. She was a woman of color and drew for Disney, but she didn't get recognized for 75 years. Like, she was just one of those background artists that did work for Disney, but when Disney was featuring their artists and even women, they didn't include this lady. And I've seen with the Muppets as well. Jim Henson like had some people, I think it was on his team, um, of color, but he did show them off. So just like for him, I think it was just if you can do the work, you're doing the work. There are some people there that do look at the merit of people, and if you fight to get in and you have good work, you get in. So yeah, I agree with you. It's a mixed bag. If I got on the Warner's writers group, I don't care how I get there. I just know once I get there, I got to work hard at that job. Oh, you were hired by, because you're one of the minority hires. They don't use the word affirmative action, just say minority hire. And that's really like you're only hired because of your skin color. Well, I'm here and I'm going to try to stay in the door. You let me in the door, I'm going to try to stay, earn my keep. And it takes time. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And people who've worked for one company and had to leave to go to another one did better work later on. So it kind of does
yeah.
work out. So if you do get a minority hire and you find out about it, or you get the feeling, um, you can prove yourself in there. And if you don't, you might end up opening in that school you're talking about down the road because, someone, if I'm a student and I came to your animation school and you worked for Pixar, I don't care how long you work for Pixar. I'm just happy that, and even if
Yeah.
you work there and all the projects that came through your building, you can put that on your resume because who knows if somebody had an inspiration talking to you over coffee or, the collective imagination of the, 2022 um, group at Pixar or Disney. Is there any dream job you'd like to have?
Nickelodeon.
No, me
I would
too.
love to work at Nickelodeon. I heard
Yeah.
it's really hard to get in, but I really like would love to work at Nickelodeon.
I've been doing they have the piloted series on the writer's side. So you have to submit a sample work, and yeah, I've done everything from Family Guy to Blackish to Bob's Burgers, and and I just realized my Bob's Burgers story wasn't complete, but it's okay. I think I sent it in anyway. Um, but yeah, it's tough, and yeah, it's one of the, and I always see the everyone's excited as they're counting down to the submissions, like, um, don't give up, and you got to work every day. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can say that, but it's tough. They only do it. I think they do it once a year for the submissions, and it's a it's a fight. They got a list of all the Nickelodeon affiliate shows, and everything that's there. It has to be on their list, and you have to do a spec script, and you try to do the best you can. And I'll keep plugging away. I'll change the title. Maybe they didn't read through it, and yeah, it's one of those things. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I think we can talk for a while, and I'm so happy you walked me through a lot of your work. Um, and let's see if we can get back here. Good. So I'm very thankful to have you here today and for joining me for just to talk about animation. And I won't. I was originally going to call the show Black Animator, but my friend suggested don't do that in case you run out of people. Um, just
Oh,
his suggestion was just to just have people of or not people of color, but just animators. I'm trying to showcase as many people of color because I'm seeing in you not a color. I'm just seeing somebody creating their art, and that's what I'm kind of
right.
going for this show. So I just wanted to thank you and sharing your art. And is there any way people can find you? The best way? How do they become part of your fan base?
You start by following me on my channel that I showed earlier,
Yeah,
and
the Suzuki
Tay's
Doll.
Dream Art
One more
is
time.
my Instagram. Tay's Dream underscore art.
Okay, so send that to me, and then I'll put that up at our end. Okay, so we're looking for you in the future, and that'll be either on YouTube. Do you have any fan page on Facebook at all?
No,
No,
I
that's
don't.
the
I should start one, but
well, for the older people. And but you think the fan base that you want to get is going to be on Instagram? And how about Twitter? Are you on there as well?
I am, but I don't post like anything.
Okay,
So
so
I'm
Instagram and YouTube will be the best to catch you. Okay, can you say your YouTube again?
Suzuki Doll official.
Official. Okay, and also on IG.
Tay's Dream underscore art.
Okay, great. So if you want to see Taylor's work progress, or you want to reach out and just give her some encouragement, because it does take a long time to get the art out there, please reach her. And we just, again, wanted to thank you for joining us. And hopefully, my small idea, maybe we can work together in the future, or I hope to maybe connect you with other animators that I'm interviewing on this channel. So it could be a nice East Coast collective. Oh, wait,
Yeah.
maybe I've just come up with the title. Okay, so thank you very much, and please have a wonderful day, everybody. And again, this was Taylor Guyton. Guyton, am I saying it correctly? Yeah. Was joining me today and showing us her art, her process, where she's come from, and definitely where she's going. So let's wish her well in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Have a great day.